there. Hi, and welcome to my virtual book launch for Snake Charm of the Oracle. It's probably looking backwards on your screen right now. It is my fantasy adventure novel. It was released 2 months ago, but its South African launch is actually today. It is now available on Takealot. What is the book about? Well, firstly, it is the first of the series, the Tales of Darkwell series, which is an anthology series. The reason I chose anthology is because I have a love-hate relationship with series. I love a book series. I love the familiarity of it. When you go back to the second one, the third one, you know the world, you know the politics, you know the structure. That's also the one thing I hate about it. You have to wait for the second one and the third one and the fourth one. And I hate having to wait. I'm not a patient person. Also, the depression that comes with when a series ends. You become so attached to those characters over several episodes. Sorry, it's just my husband telling me to lower the volume over here. Okay, hopefully it's a bit better and I'm not so loud. Sorry about that. Slow down. What is the book about? Well, it actually has 3 storylines. Your first storyline, the main storyline, follows Dustin. He's a very simple character. In the beginning, he comes across more arrogant, very dull. He's not really up for adventure, even when he is called to it. So the main storyline follows him when the Oracle awakens after hundreds of years and announces he is the only one that can go ahead and retrieve what they call the resurrection spell. Typically, he doesn't want to go for more than one reason. The main one being the necromancer who created it used the spell, or so they think at least, they used the spell to bring back the dead, and he used it as his army. So he's not very much interested in it, but you can't always reject the call to action. He is given a guide to accompany him, an undead warrior named Iastra, who is also a creation of the necromancer and his magic. She is the center point of the second storyline. It revolves around her. When we originally meet her, she is this very strong character. Also, she's been around for a while. She's very loyal to her kingdom. In between, those of you who have read chapters 1 to 3, you'll see there are flashbacks to I wouldn't say the beginning of her story arc, but more towards the middle. So you can see where she evolves, how she goes from being a creation of the necromancer to being a part of this army. So you get that backstory involved, and you see that throughout. The third storyline is the necromancers. Now, his was a particular favorite. From the get-go, he is introduced through history. He is known as the most evil sorcerer in history and the most powerful. They still use tales of him and his undead army to scare children to going to bed. But when you initially meet him, he's just a man that has suffered a loss. I wanted people to empathize with the character because, well, as we all know, bad people aren't just born, they're created, things happen. So the third storyline revolves around him, the antagonist, where he comes from. How did he go from being this really good person who's just in a bad place to how his story evolves to him becoming the most evil and hated man in the history of Darkwell? That goes along with the themes, actually. That's why I wrote 3 different storylines. I loved adding them up. It's like building a puzzle piece. It's actually a lot of fun. But it revolved a lot around the theme. The central theme being that history is important. This is reflected first, you see, in Iastra's history you'll see when you read chapter 2, the sample, Iastra's history with Henry. People we meet and how they affect us, our history, how important it is. Secondly, just history in general. And when I say history in general, I mean world history. It's not something that should be forgotten. Again, the story point begins with you you're told the necromancer is this evil person, the most hated person. But when you're introduced to him, he's not. History is important. Knowing what happened is important. It's one of the reasons you'll see throughout the book, the theme basically goes around don't delete. Don't delete from history. Don't forget. Even the bad things, you might regret choices you make, but those choices in your personal history reflect on you now as a person. That's how people you meet along the way, how they affect you as well. Your history is important. Now, world history is exactly the same. Things that happened hundreds of years ago have an effect on society today. If we don't remember these things or record them, well, things can go wrong and mishap. So that is the main central theme. It's respect history, don't delete it, rather add to it. One of the second themes I had was obviously friendship. That one you can sort of see from the get-go, especially with the Astra. Another themes, loyalty, revenge, redemption. Redemption-wise, that was a particular fond one. Redemption, so I say revenge, so I'm just going through my notes here. Themes, revenge. It's usually reactive to a situation, isn't it? The things we do when we're angry or hurt or whatever the case may be, it's usually reactive emotion first. And when you're happy, it's one thing, but when you're upset, for example, the necromancer, with things that happens to him, he reacts to the situation. He is the most reactive character. So his story arc, you'll see, also has a lot to do with that. I love writing all three of the main characters. You'll see it was quite a task to keep it separate and to make sure they got different voices. But I like different aspects of the different characters. Dustin, when you're introduced to him, as I've said before, he's very dull. But the fun part about writing him was his internal voice. And when I say internal voice, I mean the secondary voice in the background. The way the dialogue is written, you'll notice, is that it could either be his conscience talking to him a little bit more harshly than perhaps when he would speak out loud, or it could be this internal voice that is guiding him in with the sarcastic nudges and pushes. So that I sort of left up to the reader. I thought that would be a little bit more fun, so that you can decide for yourself. Iastra, her friendship with Henry. From the get-go, you'll notice it's unusually written, the structure, but her flashbacks with Henry is what he is more the comic relief, but that was for me the favorite part about writing her character. The third one, writing the necromancer, was finding the empathy with every choice, every wrong step he makes, or everything that happens to him, how he reacts to it. I wanted to create a character that no matter how bad things got, you felt for him, you felt drawn to him. Again, it revolves around a lot around revenge and how we react to situations or the pains that happen in reality, what they do to us as a person. It makes us do things we might not necessarily expect from ourselves, or the same can be said for other people. Interesting facts. The Vipere, which obviously, the Vipere, however you want to pronounce it, obviously have got very serpent-like features. So one of the fun facts is that the names of the Vipere characters, if you go and Google them, for example, Jiraraka, if you go Google it, is associated with a type of viper. As can be said for all the other ones, the certain characters that give off more, they're physically strong. Their snakes will be connected to snakes that use strength instead of poison, for example, venom, for example. Another interesting, very silly fact is that the spells that I did, what I did was if you take the spells, except the one for fire, you take the spells and you flip it around and you translate it. You can actually translate it from Latin to English. For example, Dustin uses a spell to turn a tree to salt. The spell he uses when he casts, he uses the word salas ni. Now, if you flip it around, it just says in salas. If you translate that from Latin to English, it actually just says to salt. Again, very silly factoid. Third one, I did something probably very frowned upon, but people like Shakespeare and that did it, so why not? I created a word. I couldn't find the correct one. It was to describe rainfall. I went through every word. It did not suit. And in the end, I created one. You will spot that around midsection of the book if you get that far. But that was one of the liberties I took, and I actually had fun with that as well. Upcoming projects, the second and the sequel to the Darkwell Tales, and Tales of Darkwell. As I said before, these are standalone books, so it will be brand new characters, but still set in Darkwell. It will still have that familiarity. It is more of a murder mystery, cross fantasy. Follows Hunter, who is an actual hunter as well, a pun on the name. Playing on what I did with the Viperay when I named them, I actually, in the second book, took a leaf out of that. And anyone who does read it, future, just keep it as a FYI. If you check what the names mean, it will speak about the character and actually give hints to what is happening throughout the book. All the side characters, even the animal characters that are in the book. Secondly is my sequel to Simon and the Tailor's Apprentice. I am doing Simon and the Witch's Hat, but that is in the very beginning stages. It's just going to be a lot of fun, and a lot more of the little monsters hopefully will be seen. Yay. Okay, but I am going to quickly make a draw, see who won the signed copy of my book. Yay. I even got my hat and everything. And what did I write here? Tamsinwhat? Huh? Tamsinwhat@gmail.com. I will be emailing you for your address, and it will be delivered a signed copy. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm keeping it short and sweet on this Monday evening, and I hope you all enjoyed your public holiday. Thanks. Bye.